Welcome to Venus Transmissions. I'm Sadaf Tar. We're going to talk about one of the most difficult and tragic results of abuse, CPTSD. CPTSD is a relatively new term to describe a form of post-traumatic stress disorder, one that is often associated with any trauma that's happened early in our lives. The way CPTSD manifests is you can have a feeling of like doom and fear that at any moment something really bad could happen. There's feelings of unsafety in that you have to prove and do things to acquire that safety. Feelings of unworthiness, undeservedness, hopelessness, that people don't understand you. It can be very difficult to connect to people and find really stable situations or clearly see your stable relationships and perspectives and people that are already there being able to open up to that and say yes to that. I like to talk about CPTSD and actually call it as processing, because what happens is when we start to manifest and notice these symptoms, it means we're actually in a place to finally process this trauma. Trauma is stored in the body. It affects the way the brain, the neurotransmitters. But when we are in a place when we can finally say, I accept these, this is something that I need to look at and stop pushing away, that means we are ready. We're ready to walk into a deeper experience of ourselves and self-love. Different ways to support yourself if you're finding and finally realizing and validating that what you have been through has caused you to carry this trauma, this burden that you no longer have to carry. That with the right support system, you can not only move beyond, but actually gain something from, actually transform your life in a deeper way and have a deeper sense of love for yourself that you have never had before. These are 5 ways that you can support yourself when you're experiencing and in the healing process, especially looking at the nervous system, because the nervous system is long-term affected by trauma and abuse. And it's very hard and challenging for the body to handle this emotional processing, so it needs support. The first thing to remember when you really have that light bulb moment that you've been through something difficult and now is the time to love and honor and validate yourself is that truly knowing that you are worth it and making the steps and changes that you need to make to step away from things that are not truly honoring you, that you are accepting into your life because you feel unworthy. One step at a time, and walking towards things that truly support you. And number 2, support. Creating that support system. We all need a support system. A support system definitely includes therapy of some kind or various kinds. Things like talk therapy, CBT therapy, acupuncture, yoga, meditation, different healing methods, working out, nature, rest. Bringing that to the third tip, rest and relaxation. You cannot underestimate how important rest is for healing CPTSD. And one of the reasons why is because when you have experienced this trauma, your body, your whole system, and you can get into the pattern of being in fight or flight all the time. That's what changes the endocrine system, your hormonal system, your nervous system, so that you're out of balance. Cortisol levels will be high. Your adrenals will be taxed. Resting can feel very difficult. And for a lot of people, it is really hard, especially in our world of constant stimulation. The addiction to the phone. It can be difficult, but know that anything that you do, walking, sitting, napping, I always recommend taking one full day a week to completely rest. You might be in a situation where you think that's not possible, or maybe you have children. Your life will dramatically change when you start to take the time for yourself, because truly it's a non-negotiable. Maybe at first it's just a yoga class. Maybe then it goes into an afternoon. Find the time. The root of putting up with abuse is that we often become codependent, and our self-worth is intertwined into how we're treated by other people. And that can loop into us not giving ourselves permission, time, and space to put ourselves first. So it's important to not make excuses anymore and put yourself first. Addressing the nervous system. This is actually, in my view, the most important part, because it's really connected to all the other things. When you're resting more, it helps boost the nervous system. When you're working on your emotions, it boosts the nervous system. That's why Kundalini yoga and meditation, healing practices, acupuncture, breath work. Your nervous system needs to be built up back to balance and nurtured so that you can address it when you're overstimulated or understimulated. And the last thing to remember is that a huge part of abuse and the effects of it are the fact that we're not forgiving ourselves. We often focus on forgiving the other person, but forgiveness of the other person can only happen when we forgive ourselves. When we forgive ourselves for what we've been through, that we accepted it for a time, that we tried to change it or fix it, or even thought that we could, but then we couldn't. This is the biggest first step into realizing what's really important in abuse recovery, is that all the focus should be on us and what we need emotionally, and forgiving ourselves, forgiving life for the things that happened. Because truly, when we can do that, it is reflected in our outer world, and then we can forgive others. We can see grace and opportunity in the darkest of moments. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope that these tips have given you hope and a boost, and knowing that you are worth it. There are people in the world that love you. Cultivating a relationship to love yourself. When we go through childhood trauma and we're not able to process it, we weren't parented, we have to now parent ourselves. In my experience, I had a parent who would get very angry very quickly, and then it would leave just as quick. And there was no time or recognition to honor my emotions. I was immediately asked to basically smile. And my father, the shame and guilt that he felt, he couldn't even sit with it himself. So he wouldn't be able to sit with us with it. So years of that kind of behavior is what causes CPTSD. You were never given the space or time to process it. So now strengthen your nervous system, rest, nurture, give to yourself so that you can sit with yourself and watch your emotions, watch how your psyche reacts, and have a conversation with that inner part of yourself that is hurt to integrate the energy. VenusTransmissions.com to work with me privately. I am coming out with a 7-day nervous system reset for abuse recovery soon. I have an online membership, aquarianyogi.net, and lots of beautiful healing music available on Spotify.